In February 2007, Thomas DiNapoli was elected to serve by the state legislature as the controller for the state of New York. At that time, he was in his 10th term as a New York State Assemblyman from the 16th District on Long Island. Our program is Access Spotlight on Thomas DiNapoli, our New York State Controller. I'm Shirley Ann Bruno, the Executive Director for PATV. Hello, Tom.
Hello,
it is
Shirley.
A pleasure to welcome you back to our studio.
It's nice to be back. It's been too long.
Yes, it has. Last year, Tom, I heard you speak at the Great Neck Chamber of Commerce, where you explained in detail the responsibilities of the Controller's Office. I must admit, I was not aware of all the different aspects of this office. For our audience today, I would like to go over some of the different duties of the Controller. Okay. Let's start with first, the best way to inform our audience about the State Controller's Office, your website. And your website is www, let's see if I get it right, .osc.state.newyork.us.
.ny.
Oh, okay. .ny.
Don't spell out New York.
Okay,
But you
.ny.
got it right, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
And you know, Shirley, we always say to people, because it's so easy now with computers, whatever search engine you have, if you just type in New York State Controller or New York Controller,
Good.
you'll get there. You'll
Good.
get there. It's really not hard to find our website.
And on the website, what will someone see? What's outlined there, the major areas?
Well, there's so much because, as you point out, the office has such a key role in New York State government operations in so many different ways. So, you know, certainly if you have an interest in what's happening with the state budget, big issue, you know, right now with all the challenges going on, and we could talk about that a little more. But we do have basic information in there, you know, about the state budget, about finances for the state. We have information on there about our audits because we're the watchdog for the state. So we have to go in there and look at state agencies, local governments, school districts, counties, towns, villages, and we then post information about those audits on our website. And that's really a way of tracking taxpayer dollars, making sure that they're spent the right way. One of the areas that we like to encourage people to look at, you know, these days everybody's worried about money, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody's looking for money, and found money is a nice thing. We have something called unclaimed funds, which really is the abandoned property for the state. After a certain period of time, if you have an account, it could be an old stock account, more typically an old bank account, an old utility deposit. After a certain period of time, those monies, if the institution can't find you, is determined to be abandoned property. It's turned over to the state. We're the custodian of that money. We call it unclaimed funds. And through our website, people can find out whether or not their name is listed. And you'd be surprised how many people have one of these old accounts that have become dormant. We have the money. So through our website, you go to the unclaimed funds part of it. Right. You can get the information. You can even apply for the unclaimed funds, you know, through the website. So there's an interactive, you know, value to it as well. We have something new in the website called Open Book New York.
Right. I wanted to talk about this. What is Open Book New York? It's something that you started.
Well, you know, again, this era of concern about how we're spending money and heightened sense of urgency, you know, really about transparency, about openness. We said, you know, the Controller's Office accumulates so much data, so many reports are filed with us, and we look at so many different things. How can we make that data be more readily available to New Yorkers? So we put a team together internally in the Controller's Office, and really using our own resources in a very nominal investment in terms of software. I think it was about $15,000. We put together and launched this new website, Open Book New York, and it posts financial information for the state of New York. So if you want to see what the Department of Transportation is spending, and what they're spending on, you know, supplies or, you know, travel for employees, and that's for all of the state agencies. We have that information posted. It's updated on a quarterly basis. Again, it's a way to inform taxpayers how their money is being spent. Also on that website, information about state contracts. Perhaps you're a vendor and you're curious to see, you know, you might have put in a bid for something, maybe you got it, maybe you didn't get it, who got it, how much is being spent, what's the amount for. Maybe you're an institution that has a grant from the state. And again, you just want more information, you want to get it quickly. Go to the website and that contract information, how much was the contract for, who is it with, how much has been spent down, how much is remaining. That information is updated on a nightly basis, Monday through Friday.
Exactly what it says.
Open book. And now we just added, most recently, financial information for local governments. So you want to know what's happening in your school district. There's information there. And by having all this information for the various levels of government, you could start to make comparisons. All right, how much are they spending in my district? Let me look at the district next door. It empowers citizens with information so they can ask questions of the people who are making decisions on the local level or the state level about how money's being spent. Power, comes from knowledge, and we haven't given enough information for our citizens to be as engaged in these discussions.
Or made it easy for people
Or
to
made
find
it easy.
out
So in the
this
privacy of your
information.
own home,
Wonderful.
or go to your library, if that's where you
Wonderful.
are using
Yeah.
computers, and you can get this information very easily. So there's a lot on our website of interest and value, and we encourage people to go on there and just navigate around it and see what what you want to drill
We're
down
going to
on.
also put on the screen, it's a very simple www.openbooknewyork.com.
Exactly.
So you can go that way
And also
or
on
through
that,
your
or go to the
website.
main website, and
Right.
again, just look for the open book part of it and click on that, and you can find that information out
That's
as well.
terrific. Well, we talked about the unclaimed funds. It's very easy to file a claim, and there are billions of dollars, right? In
There are
unclaimed.
many billions with a B. You're absolutely right, and our goal really is to match people back with their money. I spoke at a civic group not that long ago. There were about 35, 40 people in the audience, and I mentioned unclaimed funds, and we actually had a computer terminal right there, because we do a lot of outreach now.
Good.
There's a community event going on, or the New York State Fair, which is a big event.
Yeah.
We have the booth there. Shirley, that audience of about 35, 40 people started lining up, and before I left, and there was still a line, 5 of those people had an unclaimed fund. And we say to people who are concerned about this, it's not just your own name. You may have a close relative, a deceased parent, could be somebody who passed away.
Oh.
There may be something attached to an estate, that may be there for you. Typically, the recovery is $50 to $100. That's most typical.
Oh.
Usually, it's an old security deposit. But we had someone, in 2007, who had old stock accounts that were valued in the millions of dollars.
Oh my
So it's not quite the
goodness.
lottery. I don't want to put it that way,
Yeah.
but
I got some searching to
you'd
do
be
tonight.
surprised. No, search, put your name in, check it regularly. As a little story about this, I actually got a call the past couple of years from my bank, because I had an old savings account from when I was a high school student. I never want to close the account, and they were verifying that I was still, around. And I said, yeah, what, is there a problem? They said, no, that you had no activity with your account. We're about to turn it over to the state. So a bit of reminder to everyone, if you've got, an account, like a bank account, do something. Put money in, take it out on a periodic basis, because if it's dormant for a period of time, and especially if you've moved and for some reason they don't have your contact information, that money gets turned over to the state, and people, believe it or not, lose track of these accounts.
Yes.
So very important that they check our website for that.
Very simple tip.
Everybody could use extra money these days, so we encourage people, if we want to return that money.
Speaking about money, unfortunately, our country is in a severe financial crisis. People are very concerned about unemployment, their future, and I know the pension funds are part of your office. What is the State Controller's Office doing to safeguard the pension funds?
Well, it's very, very important. And in New York State, we are the trustee for the employee retirement system. The New York State Common Retirement Fund funds the pensions for state workers, for local government employees outside of New York City. New York City workers have their own, actually 5 funds. And police and fire, again, outside of New York City, are part of our pension fund. And some school district employees, the non-teaching employees. So we also have, which is separate from our operation, there's the New York State Teachers Retirement Fund. So the fund that we administer and are trustee for has about 1 million members. That's retirees and active employees and beneficiaries. And it's one of the largest public pension plans in the nation. We're just behind California, which obviously makes us one of the largest in the world as well. So we've been doing a lot in terms of just improving the operations of the fund from an ethics and a transparency point of view. And certainly in these tough times, performance is a very, very key issue. We've been hit, as others have been hit, by what's been happening on Wall Street. Our biggest holdings are in public equities, particularly domestic public equities. So when those stocks that everyone is familiar with of American companies are down, we're going to get hit by that. the way the pension fund is governed in the state, we're governed by statute in terms of where we could put investments, so there's some limitations.
Sure.
We've done best. Safeguards, although safeguards, but limitations. We've done best with real estate and private equity investments, yet we have a cap on how much we could put there. So one of the things we're going to talk to the legislature about is giving us a little more flexibility, so we could put more in the areas that have, and I think probably will for the short run, greater probability of return. But the bottom line, for those who are viewing the show that are working for the state part of our pension plan, if you're a beneficiary, the fund is safe and secure. We have certainly in recent months gone down in value, but we're long-term investors. We have a perpetual horizon. We anticipate there will be down times. Nobody anticipated it to be down this much. But we have money there to pay the pensions. The pensions are guaranteed by the state constitution. In fact, and this may sound surprising, the way we calculate the contributions, because it's employee contributions and then employer contributions. So with a public pension plan, it's government. It's a local government, state government. So that means taxpayer dollars ultimately. Right. This September, we announced our employer contribution rate. So it has a direct impact on municipal and school district and state budget. We were able to cut the contribution rate. And people say, well, how could you cut it? Things are, going, things have been tough and we've been not making as much money. Well, we've had a number of very good years, and our actuary had analyzed and said, you know what, because we've had good years, outsized returns, even though we're in a downturn, we could do, it wasn't a big cut, but it was a cut in the contribution rate. So that relieves pressure in the short run on municipal budgets. That helps taxpayers. Now, when we do this next year, I think it would be fair to say we're not going to have a cut, probably an increase. But again, my hope is the way we manage it, it will not be the kind of huge spike that we had a number of years ago. But it is a tough investment climate. Nobody knows when Wall Street is going to pick up again. We obviously are not going to have the kind of overheated profit years that we had not that long ago. It's going to take a while for that to turn around. But the fund is safe and secure, and we are doing what we can to anticipate the great opportunities for growth in the future, because we are providing pensions not only for those who are retired today or who are about to retire, but for that person who may be starting a job today and not going to be drawing down a pension for 35, 40 years. So we have a perpetual horizon, as we say.
Speaking about that person, what about the payroll for the state? Your office also manages that.
We do a lot, in terms of operations. So, every 2 weeks we have about 250,000 employee checks that we have to be sure are prepared and cut. And we do the contract review, for the state. So we have some 40,000, contracts a year that we have to make sure are handled in an appropriate way and are signed off. And then we, cut the checks for that. So that basic operations that people don't see unless something goes wrong. Right. Our office is really, key in keeping the state going. And we've been trying, even though it's tougher now with limitations on resources, there's been, so much enhancement in information technology and IT and computer systems. Right. We are looking at all those systems and trying to be sure that we have the best systems in terms of efficiency and affordability, and so we're always trying to improve that part of the operations. But it's, as I said, it's the part that nobody sees. But if we have had a problem, then everybody would see it.
Well, this is what I'm saying, that the audience doesn't realize all these different duties of the Comptroller's office. Recently, your office has uncovered some serious fraudulent practices going on here in the different districts and different things. It's been in the news. Can you explain what's been going on and what your office has done about this?
Well, we've done a number of things with the audit functions, in a host of areas. Right. So we have certainly found situations, sometimes they're as extreme, as a fraud, or perhaps a situation that involves criminality where we have to refer to a local district attorney. And we found, so many different issues in various levels of governments. One of the big issues that's gotten a lot of attention of late has to do with people who were inappropriately categorized as employees ending up in the pension system, and that's gotten a lot of attention.
Yeah, there's a lot of press here on Long Island.
Well, it's a continuing effort on our part, because the reality is in the past, there were often situations where people were categorized as independent contractors so that the employer would avoid paying the benefit costs and not have them as employees. So, in the past, I think in looking at the retirement system, which is another part of pension investing is part of it, but actually, handling the paperwork for those who want to retire is another piece of all that. Always making sure that someone who was entitled to a pension, was something of a concern. Well, we've changed that focus now, and we've said it's not just a question of making sure someone who's entitled to it is in the system. Let's make sure that someone who's not entitled to it is not in the system. So that's been a change in focus, a change in direction. I've established a compliance unit now in the retirement division of our agency, where we have a group of people who are making sure that anybody who's entered is entered appropriately. That if a local government isn't sure, how to fill out the paperwork, how to categorize someone, we will give them guidance and training and make sure it's done right. And a real ongoing effort is really looking back. People who are in there, some people have been there for many years, sometimes decades.
Sure.
But if they're in there inappropriately, whether it was a mistake or whether it was a deliberate manipulation of the rules, the bottom line is if and it's often been attorneys, if you're in there as an employee and in fact you're an independent contractor, we're going to tell you you're not entitled to those benefits anymore. So if you're in the system and you haven't started to collect a pension, we're going to remove you from the system or revoke that service that you're not entitled to. Or if you're someone who is receiving a pension and you shouldn't be, we're going to revoke that pension. So it's a difficult process, and it's not an easy one. It's not a pleasant one, when you have to do something like this. But you know what? In this era where accountability is key and people should only get what they're entitled to, we can't have the pension system ripped off. It's very much accountability. So we're going through that process very deliberately, and sometimes people say, how come enough? Well, you know what? We're looking at records that go back, as I said, sometimes decades. Sure. And we're subjected to, it's one thing, to write something in a newspaper, but when we do, we have to make sure we're right, that our decisions will stand up in administrative hearings and in court. We've been sued by people who say, no, you can't do this stuff. So we're trying very hard to do it the right way, but we want people to have confidence, whether you're a taxpayer supporting the system or you're a member of the system, that the only people getting benefits are people entitled to those benefits.
As I think it's important when you read a story in the newspaper, you should go to your website, see what's on that, really try to get the entire story, not to make quick judgments on things. We all know paper sometimes gives you just that headline, and people just sometimes read the headline. But all right, well, that's good. That's good to know that everybody, and it felt good to see that different things were coming to the surface and that there was a state office that was dealing with it. Another area that I know is dear to my heart and dear to yours, since your initial election in '86 to the Assembly, you have earned the reputation as one of the state's leading voices on environmental issues. You've championed efforts to preserve open space and restore the Long Island Sound, plus numerous measures to ensure the quality of our state's drinking water and protect surface and groundwater resources throughout the state. Now that you are the controller, you are still in a leadership role with this and carrying on. So tell us about your green initiative.
Oh, I'm happy to. As you point out, the environmental issues were always a great passion for me. And my last 5 years in the state legislature, I had the privilege to chair the Environmental Conservation Committee. So I really spent a lot of time in this. And of course, these days, I think everybody is going green. I think, there's a broad understanding, in terms of the energy issue and, national security and the cost and the impact in terms of climate change and our health and well-being. There's so many interconnected issues that end up coming out with a great deal of support for going green in so many ways.